How do you feel in
Yeah.
general about this process the president has begun in D.C. and now talking about other cities? Is this a big issue, a small issue, a distraction, something important?
Yeah.
How do you view it generally?
Yeah, Mark, look, I think it's all of the above. And look, I talked about this earlier. I worked in city government for a long time in my career. And so this particular issue hits home for me. And when you think about what's happened in DC over the last few weeks, the moment that President Trump sent the National Guard here was a moment that the city had just announced a 30-year low in crime. One. Secondly, there was a hurricane that was barreling across the East Coast, and some of those states that actually sent their National Guard were those states who were going to be potentially hit by the hurricane. On top of that, FEMA was decimated. And so when you talk about strength, you talk about making this a stronger country, like those are three things that just did not. And so on top of that, you're now using DC as an example on how to get into other cities. And I think that's where the president's a little bit wrong. He's got to remember that over 75 million people did not vote for him. And so his mandate is not to be a dictator, to be a fascist. His mandate is to figure out ways to work with mayors, to work with governors, to make, if DC's crime level is already 30 below, the lowest it's been in 30 years. Let's make it lower. Let's make it near zero. Let's work with the mayor. Let's work with the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of New Orleans. When you talk about Chicago, and look, my thought to mayors, Democratic mayors across the country, and I've said this for a few months now, you got to step aside from the politics. President Trump is distracting what's going to happen in the midterms with all of this sort of enforcement of immigration and crime and sort of taking over these cities. But what mayors have got to do is they've got to make sure their cities are run well, their cities that their services are delivered well. They got to make sure that the policies that are most important to their people are things they can ask the federal government for. So I would tell Brandon Johnson in Chicago and Latoya Cantrell in New Orleans is make a list of things that Donald Trump and the administration can do to help you make your cities better. You saw what Latoya Cantrell said today, the mayor of New Orleans. She has recently worked with the federal government pretty closely to produce a Super Bowl after a terrorist attack. And so I think the rhetoric that these mayors do not want the support, they've been crying. When Mitch Landrieu was mayor of New Orleans, he was yelling and crying for the federal government to put more money into cops, the community program, to put more money into community policing, to give us more money to find more police to put on the ground because recruitment was low, not just over the last 4 years. Recruitment's been low over the last decade. And so I think if President Trump really wants to make impact, he will figure out a way to sit with these governors and these mayors. And if I were these mayors, I would flip it back and say, look, here's my list of things that you can do. Chicago's a beautiful city. New Orleans is a beautiful city. Detroit, all of these cities. But here are things that we can do to make them better. Here are the 5 things that you can invest through HUD, through FEMA, through secretary, I mean, to the Housing and Hospital Association, all of those things. So if you can figure out how to do that, I think there's a win-win for the people because the politics of Donald Trump's playing right now is going to be a lose-lose.
But first, reminder that Cozy Earth is a sponsor of this show, and a reminder: 3 things. Let's unmute Jim Malmstrom. Jim, unmute. Tell me, Jim, what are the 3 top things you look for in clothes when you're buying clothes? Jim, can you unmute? I need a foil. Jim, what are the top 3 things you look for when you're buying clothes? Number 1,
They got to fit.
good fit. Yeah. Number 2,
They got to make me look younger.
make you look good. Yeah. And number 3, you could say cost. You could say cost,
Cost.
right? You don't want, yeah. Okay. Perfect answers because Cozy Earth clothes. The bedding is great too, but I'm talking, as I almost always do, about the pants, the shirts. They're so comfortable. They look great. You can wear them anywhere, casual. The pants just, they're like a magic cloak. You can wear them anywhere. They look fine on the beach. They look fine at a fancy engagement. And right now they're also on sale. If you use the code 2way, go to CozyEarth.com and put in the code 2way, 40% off. Not all of you have taken me up on my recommendation. Go try them. Try the pants. Gentlemen, try the pants. Take my word for it. Built for real life, made to keep up with yours. Cozy Earth recommended. All right.